welcome everybody. I'm Kim Hosen. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I tend to be a mumbler, so Karen will keep on me. I'm the Executive Director of Prince William Conservation Alliance, and we are so happy to have you here today. And we are here today with other like-minded organizations to support the preservation of key environmental, cultural, and community assets for today and for generations to come. Our protected rural area, which we call the Rural Crescent, is important to the quality of life for all Prince William communities countywide. It protects 40 miles of Virginia scenic byways, significant historic resources, cool wineries and breweries, unique agricultural uses such as goat yoga, we can all meet out there next time, and a really successful hydroponic farm. And the streams and wetlands that protect groundwater and the Occoquan Reservoir, which provides clean drinking water to about 2 million people in Northern Virginia. Prince William County is also really lucky to have not one, but 2 national parks. Prince William Forest Park is a national park, and Manassas National Battlefield Park. These special areas not only provide exceptional recreation and wildlife opportunities close to home, they attract more than 1 million visitors and contribute $120 million to Prince William's community and our economy every year. At tonight's board meeting, supervisors are going to consider initiating a comprehensive plan amendment that proposes to replan 800 acres from the Rural Crescent uses to data center development. This would undermine the Rural Crescent and create unacceptable impacts to our national parks. Data centers are a modern industrial reality that can really benefit Prince William County if they're properly sited. They take up huge amounts of land, they use huge amounts of energy, and they use huge amounts of water. It's important that we allow data centers in the areas where they'll have a minimal impact on our quality of life. And we actually have enough land to do that. Prince William's Data Center Overlay District identified about 3,100 acres of vacant land that is suitable for data center development. However, speculative land developers are eyeing the less expensive land in our Rural Crescent. Worse, many of these targeted properties are next to our 2 national parks. These threats to our national parks and the Rural Crescent are immediate and they're entirely unnecessary. See, once the damage is done, this industrial use will probably give rise to more industrial uses, and the character of the Rural Crescent will be gone forever. Many residents value the Rural Crescent from East and West Prince William and the 2 national parks. In fact, I thought this was very interesting. The county did a community poll in April, and the number 1 in the category of, what do they call it? Land use? In the category of land uses, the number 1 thing that people said, and it was number 1 by a good bit that they wanted to protect, was the Rural Crescent. So I thought that was just fascinating. But it also matches other surveys and studies, including the one from the former Rural Preservation Study. So now I'm going to hand the mic over, yeah, you got that, to Kyle Hart, who is a Mid-Atlantic Field Representative for National Parks Conservation Association, and he's going to share some information about our national parks. Kyle?
Thanks, Kim. Thank you all for joining us today. As Kim mentioned, my name is Kyle Hart. I am the Mid-Atlantic Field Representative for the National Parks Conservation Association. Founded in 1919, NPCA works to protect and enhance America's national park system for present and future generations. I am here today on behalf of our 1.6 million members and supporters nationwide and our 43,000 members and supporters here in Virginia. Prince William County is fortunate enough to host not 1, but 2 distinct units of the National Park Service, Prince William Forest Park and Manassas National Battlefield Park. Unfortunately, the Prince William County Board of Supervisors wants to allow developers to build large data centers directly adjacent to both of them. Manassas National Battlefield is on the site of two Civil War battles that took place in 1861 and 1862. It is hallowed ground, rich with history, and we will hear from the Manassas Manassas Battlefield Trust in a moment. But this past weekend, the park honored the 160th anniversary of the First Battle of Manassas with demonstrations, reenactments, and more. In 2020 alone, nearly 560,000 people visited the park. Prince William Forest Park is a national park just 30 miles from Washington, D.C. Over 333,000 people visited that park last year. Prince William Forest Park features 40 miles of trails, along with numerous camping opportunities. Park visitors can fish, hike, picnic, view wildlife, and ride bikes in the largest protected natural area in the D.C. metropolitan region. Each year, visitors to the two parks spend over $50 million in the local economy. They create 700 jobs in total 700 million in economic output for the communities surrounding the parks, contributing a significant measurable economic benefit to Prince William County. Make no mistake, data centers are large industrial complexes, hundreds of thousands of square feet, standing over 30 feet tall. These proposed developments are directly adjacent to National Park Service property. At Prince William Forest Park, the proposal is actually inside of the congressionally authorized boundary, meaning that this land could one day easily become part of the park. They would be visual intrusions on the historic landscape of Manassas Battlefield and negatively impact water quality and plant life at Prince William Forest Park. Noise and light pollution from the extensive power and cooling infrastructure needed for these data centers will further degrade the national treasures. Both of these data centers would be built on currently undeveloped land, green space, forest, and farmland, turned into concrete and impervious surfaces. These proposals are in direct opposition to President Biden's 30 by 30 initiative, which is an effort to conserve 30% of our land by 2030, which NPCA has been a supporter of since day one. The 30 by 30 initiative is founded on the premise of fighting climate change, protecting water quality, and preserving biodiversity. These proposed data centers move us backwards on both of these goals. NPCA calls on the Prince William County Board of Supervisors to place land conservation, fighting climate change, and protecting national parks above the interests of a few developers looking for a cheap and easy place to build data centers. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Frank Washington, who is the chair of the Coalition to Save Historic Thoroughfare, who's going to talk about the Rural Crescent and our historic resources.
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank everyone for being here today as well. General wealth is a term that has been used a lot recently. The term refers to assets passed from one generation to another. Although this is usually thought of in reference to financial gain, I believe there's another form of generational wealth. What I see when I look around this beautiful and cultural, unique rural crescent is our generational wealth in land, agriculture, forestry, our historical landmarks, our scenic byways, and our pristine habitats where multitudes of wildlife and species thrive. These rare, historic, natural resources are the generational wealth that we should focus on leaving to our children and our children's children. It is a wealth that continues to give to our community at large and to future generations because these resources are also essential elements to our well-being, including clean air, water, and soil. Our true rural crescent general wealth is in the safeguarding and the preserving of all of our remaining natural resources, which is an unquestionable vision that benefits and includes everyone. The rural crescent is a gem that was preserved through an intentional and conscious decision as part of the county's comprehensive planning. The damage to our environment and these precious habitats that will be caused by data centers in the proposed locations are natural resources we can never get back or replace. It would be destroying the generational wealth of the rural crescent and historical treasure. The overbearing size of these centers will also be devastating and have devastating effects on the Manassas National Battlefield as well as the Prince William Forest Park. A forever, irreversible detriment to the historic and cultural significance. I cannot stress enough that these cultural and historical assets are a part of our generational wealth and need to be protected. Just as with our joint battle to save and protect the cultural and historical assets of Thoroughfare, the settlement of Gainesville, and the connecting areas, it should be about focusing on historical preservation. What about the effects on our critically important clean water goals? What about the tremendous amounts of water these data centers use? What about the enormous amount of energy these centers consume? This would have a monumental negative effect on what we currently have in our agricultural general wealth within this county. Proposed additions, such as the ones currently being considered, will open door to rampant and uncontrolled development. These data centers for Prince William County must be limited to the areas that are already designated for industrial use. This will protect what is the true historical generational wealth of our county, our historical rural Crescent.
Okay, next up we have Julie Bolthouse. Julie is a Deputy Director of Land Use for the Piedmont Environmental Council, and she's going to run us through some numbers.
So good evening. As Kim said, I'm the Deputy Director of Land Use for Piedmont Environmental Council, and we're very concerned about the Prince William Digital Gateway Comprehensive Plan Amendment being initiated by the board tonight. Rather than wait for the results of the study that was initiated in May, the county is preemptively initiating comprehensive plan changes to allow data centers in these rural areas. These changes seem to be led by individual landowners rather than by community-wide planning efforts. In fact, there appears to be plenty of undeveloped land available in the data center overlay. The entire overlay encompasses about 8,700 acres. Our analysis shows that about 3,100 acres of that is vacant. Of that vacant acreage, the county's analysis shows that 1,120 acres are already owned by data center developers. 634 are considered site ready, and 739 acres require assemblage or just one more step. That's 2,493 acres of vacant land without significant restraints available right now. This does not include desirable redevelopment opportunities, which make up an unknown number of acres. For comparison's sake, Loudoun County's Data Center Alley, the world's highest concentration of data centers, boasts 25 million square feet of data center in operation and another 4 million square feet in development. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But converted into acreage, that's only 665 acres. With parking and stormwater management, I'm sorry to burst people's bubble, and other infrastructure, they do consume a little bit more land, but probably not more than twice as much. This Loudoun County has managed to keep these data centers in the Ashburn area, though, and none have been approved west of Leesburg in the rural policy area.
Exactly.
That was a lot of facts and numbers, I know that I just went through, but they raise serious questions about why. Why are we considering putting data centers next to 2 national parks? Why are we not focusing on attracting data center development to the thousands of acres of vacant land in the overlay district? Why are we considering steps that threaten to convert the rural Crescent that currently supports agricultural businesses and tourism and protects our historic and natural resources into an area of industrial sprawl? The data center overlay was developed in 2016 with the purpose of promoting development of data centers in areas where adequate infrastructure exists and negative impacts to the community are minimal. Transmission lines and other infrastructure such as gas lines, fiber lines, highways, railroads, etc., by their very nature, cut through vast areas of rural land. This infrastructure cannot be the impetus for industrial sprawl. The county must consider other factors such as cost of extending additional infrastructure like water and sewer lines, and the impacts on agricultural, tourism, historic resources, and natural resources of the area. There may be good reasons to make changes to the data center overlay, such as removing areas like the 458 acres out in Oaksville that the county considers unavailable for data centers in their analysis, and adding other areas that are more appropriate. However, the process should be informed through studies, community-driven, and consider impacts on community resources like the parks and all of the historic resources that have been mentioned tonight. An ad hoc process of adding rural parcels into the data center overlay at the request of individual landowners will lead to industrial sprawl that risks the viability of the agricultural businesses and tourism industry that is dependent on the agricultural setting of western Prince William County. Thank you.
Okay, next we have David Cooper, who is a vice president of the Manassas National Battlefield Trust, and I bet you can guess his topic.
Good evening. My name is David Cooper, and I'm here tonight representing Manassas Battlefield Trust, the official nonprofit partner of Manassas Battlefield Park. Our mission is to assist our partners at the National Park Service in preserving and protecting the lands and resources associated with Manassas National Battlefield, and to foster an understanding and appreciation for the battles and their significance. On the behalf of the Trust and our members, I'm here tonight to express our deep concern with tonight's vote on amending the Prince William Data Gateway due to its possible impact on the park, specifically certain properties along Pageland Lane, 10 acres of which are actually already within the congressionally designated park boundary. Over the last decades, it has been vitally important that much of the western and northern boundary of Manassas National Battlefield Park is encompassed by the county's rural area designation. This protection has been critical in preserving the historic view sheds and rural character along the park's boundary. This rural character is critical because it represents the historic view sheds that existed during the Civil War, an essential feature of the park's ability to execute its mission. One can stand at key spots on the battlefield like Henry Hill, the Deep Cut, or portions of the Brower Farm, and see virtually no modern intrusions. Even portions of the park where modern development is visible still overwhelmingly retain the agricultural landscape and feel that is central to the park's historic value. In its current form, we believe the proposed additions to the data center overlay district will have a devastating impact on Manassas National Battlefield, and in fact, on Prince William Forest Park too. Each year, these two national parks draw more than 1 million visitors and contribute $120 million to the Prince William economy. We ask that the county consider the permanent impact these proposed changes to the overlay will have on the ever-decreasing green space in the county. Specifically, we request that the board limit any development directly next to or within close proximity of both parks' boundaries. We understand the Board of County Supervisors must balance a range of stakeholders' goals for the county, for the future of the county. We ask that the board engage with Manassas Battlefield Trust, the park's leadership, and the other organizations here tonight so that we can find common ground, including how to best respect the county's tremendous historical significance while assuring its vibrant future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And last, and certainly not least, we have Nancy Vehrs, who is the president of the Virginia Native Plant Society, to share info about our other great national park, Prince William Forest Park.
Thank you, Kim. As Kim said, I'm Nancy Vehrs, the president of the Virginia Native Plant Society, as well as the local chapter of the Prince William Wildflower Society. The Virginia Native Plant Society is a statewide nonprofit conservation organization of more than 2,200 members with a mission summed up in our catchphrase, conserving wildflowers and wild places. The Prince William Wildflower Society, established in 1983, is a chapter of the VNPS and has more than 200 members. We are very concerned about a plan for the 160-acre undeveloped and mostly forested property bounded on several sides by Prince William Forest Park. It is within the congressionally legislated boundary of this national park. Recently, the Board of County Supervisors replanned this property to allow office and data centers. We believe that this was a very serious error. This site was outside the original data center overlay district and should be protected for a number of reasons. Number one, rare plants. While we never had the opportunity to survey the undeveloped 160-acre property, it may provide the habitat for at least one very rare plant, the globally imperiled and federally threatened small world pogonia, Isotria metalloides. It has known populations within the park and is in a conservation area across Dumfries Road. It is a small, rare orchid. Invasive plants. For a park in a metropolitan area, Prince William Forest Park has relatively few invasive plant infestations in its large intact forest. Opening that 160-acre parcel will create opportunities for these invaders to take root. Heavy equipment used for building and clearing will transport invasive plants and their seeds. Disturbed soil is ripe for invasive plants that have a competitive advantage over desirable native plants. Combating invasive plants is costly and time-consuming, and the previous park superintendent testified that this is a very serious concern of theirs. Number three, Prince William Forest Park has an important Piedmont forest that deserves protection. As noted on its website, Prince William Forest Park preserves approximately 15,000 acres of Piedmont forest covering a significant portion of the Quantico Creek watershed. Quantico Creek is the highest quality watershed or waterway in Northern Virginia. Let's keep it that way. The park represents one of the largest parcels of intact, undeveloped land in the area, and it is the third largest unit in the national park system in Virginia. That, combined with the fact that it is the largest example of a Piedmont forest in the national park system, makes it a significant natural resource and deserves protection. The park also contains two physiographic provinces, the Piedmont and the coastal plain, and it straddles the southern and northern climates, a transition zone that supports many species to the outer limits of their ranges. This creates a wide diversity of habitat, vegetative communities, and species composition not generally found in any single forest type. Prince William Forest Park is approximately 2/3 in the Piedmont and 1/3 in the coastal plain. Number four, forest fragmentation. Dividing up the 161 acres will create more edge habitat that is preferred by white-tailed deer. The overly abundant deer in the county are a serious concern to the health of the forest and are a major traffic hazard. Overabundant deer browse young trees and prevent tree regeneration. And number five, importance of nature. As the COVID-19 pandemic has shown, people need areas for passive recreation. Parks have been overrun with visitors. We should be preserving more open space whenever we have the opportunity. The county has areas ripe for redevelopment for residential and office uses. Data centers belong in areas specifically designed for them, not in functional ecosystems with important natural resources. I urge the Prince William Board of County Supervisors to preserve land and not allow a data center next to or within natural heritage national parks. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the formal speakers we have, but I know there's a few people here that have some comments that they'd like. I think Joyce has some comments first.
Hello, my name is Joyce Hudson, and I was involved in the struggle against the Dominion power lines a few years ago to address the Amazon data center. So I have a little bit of experience with data centers, and I'd like to comment on how locating data centers can have adverse impacts. The power lines that were proposed by Dominion to serve the Amazon data center along Carver Road is a perfect example of not thinking through the siting of a data center. We have to recognize that there are secondary impacts. This county gave a green light to Amazon's data center in Gainesville without thinking it through and without realizing that Dominion Energy would propose new power lines along Carver Road and that the citizens being impacted would have to pay for them. The county then had to fight against their own impacts of their own decision, and thankfully it was successful, but only after countless hours and dollars. You ride through the county and you see construction of these huge concrete structures everywhere. To people like me, the average citizen, it appears there's a lack of a cohesive approach. What do you say when you're asked, why are data centers being built in random places? The vote today could be a huge step in this county becoming a data center county. And I say, be very careful. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else, any questions?
Can we get the lady from PEC back up here, please?
The what?
Piedmont Council,
Julie.
your land use expert.
Julie?
Oh, is she at the snack
She
bar?
would know. She'll be
Okay,
back.
I'll find her, thank you.
She'll be back. I think she went in to sign up to speak.
Okay.
Any questions? No questions, no comments? Here's Julie.
Hi. You're on the hot seat.
Okay. Hot potato.
You rattled off a lot of good stats really quickly. I was wondering if you could go back over those and share those with us again.
Yeah. If I remember them, I might need to grab my
Yeah,
sheet
please
again.
do.
Yeah, let me
Please
grab my
do.
sheet.
Yeah. So you talked about I guess the Loudoun County, the available acreage, and compared to Prince William County.
Yes.
Can you go over that one more time?
Okay, so this is from the Loudoun County Economic Development Department. So if you look up data centers in Loudoun Economic Development Department and look up Data Center Alley, and you should find it. It shows that they have 25 million square feet of data center in operation,
Okay.
and another 4 million in development currently.
Square feet.
Square feet,
Okay.
sorry.
Another 4 million in development.
Yep.
Okay.
And that might be an old stat. They might have a little bit more than that, but
Okay. But you and then how does that compare to Prince William? Because I heard 2,000.
I do not know how many active data centers or how much square footage of active data center Prince William has. I have not been able to find that.
Okay.
So what I was comparing it to was the acreage that the county analysis shows that is already owned by data centers and is not developed. So
What are those numbers?
it's 1,120 acres that they own but have not developed yet
Okay.
in the data center overlay
In Prince William County.
in Prince William County.
Okay. And are the majority of these acres in the area that you're most concerned about, near the parks, and in the rural area of the county?
You mean the ones in Prince William?
Yeah.
No, those are in the data center overlay.
Okay.
That's
Gotcha.
where we think that we should be continuing. That was a community process that identified that overlay, and that's where we should continue to put our data centers.
How many acres the Loudoun County data centers take up?
Yeah, the data centers of Loudoun County that are built currently is 665. So.
Acres. And this one request is 800 acres.
Now, keep in mind, though, to be fair, that is the acreage that is covered by building. Yes.
We're not talking parking or anything else.
We're not talking stormwater, parking, all of that stuff. So, I mean, you have to figure out what that would be. I would say maybe triple it, but still, even if you triple it, you're nowhere near the 3,000 acres of vacant land that we currently have in the data center overlay. Yep.
Any other questions for our speakers?
Okay, anybody else have comments? Marilyn, nothing to say? Nothing to say. Oh, we gotta write that down. Hey.
No, always got something to say.
Oh, here she is. Wait, let's go to her first.
I'm Stacy Shaw from Bristow. I know someone was talking, I think it might have been you, about the view shed and how that would be affected at Bull Run Park. Is that something we know for sure? Because a lot of times they try to offset Manassas
I think Manassas Battlefield, the trust would have a better answer on that. If David's around here. David, question for possibly you.
Okay.
About potential view shed impact. I think that might have been something you addressed on.
Sure.
Do we know that the data centers would be seen from points within the park?
Oh, absolutely. Bees would, yes. They're right up against the boundary. Wait, it depends on where they site the center, of course, but the property that's being discussed is literally on the boundary. As we said, 10 acres of it is even within the congressionally designated boundary now. It's not land owned by the Park Service, but land like that is sometimes protected by easement or other conveyance, and so the park would hope one day to be able to protect that land. So there's all kinds of very direct impacts to the park. Our superintendent will also be here this evening to testify and can be specific too.